It's three guys who combined to play 15 seasons in the National Football League trenches. Well, two guys. And Mackey, who didn't do shit. This is the O-Line Committee.
Dumb football questions coming at you here on this part 2 of our Week 12 recap. Jeremiah Sirles, Alex Boone, and Phil Mackey. If you're new to the O-Line Committee, welcome into this offensive line lifestyle YouTube channel and podcast. Click that subscribe button and like button if you are consuming on YouTube, and a 5-star rating and a positive review on Apple and Spotify. Thank you, guys. I know that Boone, during part 1, let Jeremiah off the hook, saying,
we're not letting him off the hook.
Not going to talk about the Chiefs.
I knew the question was coming.
But I'm
so excited. I'm so excited. By the way, go ahead.
No, you go. I'll ask you.
There was chatter. There's a lot of chatter right now that the Lions are still the best team in the NFL. Especially after this last weekend, like everyone's like, oh, the Chiefs, barely losing to the Panthers, which totally undercredits what the Panthers did because they look fucking good. Do you still feel like the Lions are the best team in the NFL today?
Yes,
okay.
100%.
Okay.
Mackey,
that game against the Colts was not crazy.
That was actually a good way to...
Thank you. I knew where the question was going because I already know. That game against the Colts was not like it was like, holy fucking shit, they're on fire. The Colts kind of gave it to them a little bit. And they kind of punched them in the mouth a little bit. And I was like, okay, this isn't the game that I thought it was going to be.
And
but
then
now
they still ended up fucking cruising.
So
that game was never in question.
No, it wasn't. 24-6.
It was
that
14-6.
Game was never
it was
in question.
14-6 late in the third. I'm just going to say. 14-6 late in the third.
What game were you watching?
Go look it up.
What game were you watching where you thought at one point in time, like, man, maybe Anthony Richardson's going to pull this off?
He had some good throws. He had some good throws.
Not.
He had some
Versus
lucky ass.
He was 11 for 28.
Yeah,
I agree. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong.
No, you can die on this hill all you want. This is a terrible take. The Chiefs,
that 50-50 ball could change anything.
With the worst team in the NFL.
Be light when you say that. Be light. The Jets are the worst team. The
No,
Jets
they're not.
They definitely are.
The
they definitely
Panthers
are.
have the worst roster in the NFL. Top to bottom.
Thank you, Mackey.
Worst
Thank you,
roster
Mackey.
in the
They're
NFL.
fighting. They're fighting, though. They're still fighting. There's a couple
Whose roster is better than
They
the Panthers?
looked fucking
There's worse than the
good.
Panthers. Top to bottom. Name me one roster that's worse.
We're not arguing that. We're just saying they're not the worst team in the NFL.
And you're going to
That's
try
what's
and
so
crown,
cool about this.
You're going to try and crown the Chiefs as still the best team after getting dragged out into the deep end by the worst roster in the NFL.
I'm just saying. But they played fucking really well. Not to say the Chiefs defense isn't playing fucking shitty.
Let me ask
but once
it this
again,
way.
Patrick Mahomes, look, he's getting mad. He's getting
Let me ask it this way. All right, I'll flip the question around. I'm going to ask this
124-6
in clickbaity fashion here, and we're going to use this maybe as a headline. Okay. Are the Chiefs frauds?
They're not frauds. By no stretch of the imagination
Fair.
are they frauds. They are not frauds, but they are not one of the top. They're not one of the top tier teams in the NFL.
How many teams are better than the Chiefs right now?
How
many teams would you pick to beat them in a playoff game?
I think the Lions beat them. I think the Ravens beat them. And I think the Bills beat them. I think those three teams in the AFC.
You don't even think the Eagles would beat them?
I don't know if the Eagles can. I don't know if the Eagles can stop Patrick Mahomes. I think those other teams can. I think those other teams can stop Patrick Mahomes because the thing about those other teams for me is they're just going to beat them all up, right? And I guess you could throw the Eagles into that found too because that's what the Panthers did. The Panthers just beat them up, right? They just physically beat up the Chiefs.
Yeah, A'Shaun Robinson was pissed.
Right? A'Shaun Robinson. And so you look at, okay, if that's somewhat of a blueprint, right? Because there's always a blueprint. How do you beat the Chiefs? You bloody them. Right, you bloody them up, you fight them, you keep punching at them.
That's a recipe for everybody, though. How do you beat up the Lions? You bloody them up.
But you don't bloody the Lions. Tell me the last time we saw the Lions get bloody.
Well, they did it to themselves, but the Houston game, they did it to themselves.
There's blood in the water for the Chiefs.
Oh,
the
you
Bills,
are so on this.
The Bills felt it. The Bills attacked it. Dude, you start talking about teams hitting their stride. Would you say that Kansas City's hitting their stride right now? Would you say going into December, Kansas City is hitting the stride that they need to hit?
No, but they're getting Isaiah Pacheco back next week. And that to me is going to be like, hey, now, we haven't had a run game. Dude, they haven't had fucking...
It's not like Kareem Hunt's been a slapdick.
Yeah, but at the same time, he's not Isaiah Pacheco. And who's his counterpart? P. Ryan? Like, dude, you have two of the same guys trying to do the same thing. Now you're going to get a guy back who's going to really start to force things. And it's not even the run game. It's the fact that when you motion him out, Andy Reid could do a million fucking things. And it's like, okay, now again, here we go. Another playmaker.
They don't
on the
have
field.
enough firepower on offense. D-Hop's their guy. I mean, Worthy's a take the top off gadget type guy. you start talking about, okay, Kelsey is very up and down this year.
Noah Gray showing up.
But I just don't think they have the firepower to make a run. I really don't. I think that they're going to probably win the West, right? It's going to be really at them and the Chargers.
That's going to be a fight.
That's going to be a fight to win the West. But you talk about some of the other teams that you're talking about, elite caliber NFL championship. It's Mahomes, and that's the only reason we all say that the Chiefs are elite, and that's fair to say because he's the best. But from a top bottom, I just don't think the Chiefs are like the elite of the elites like they're talked about.
Can I say something? Let me say something.
Talk to him.
All right. First of all, I don't disagree with anything Jay just said.
Thank you.
And if a regular season game was being played this weekend, I would probably take all the teams you just said. Right now, who would beat the Chiefs this Sunday? I might throw the Eagles. I might throw the Vikings with that defense. Just like regular season game this Sunday.
Homer.
You are such a fucking homer. That can't.
We didn't even talk about it.
We're not even talking about the Vikings.
Continue, please, Mackey.
The Vikings.
Just give me this moment.
Your purple pants.
Fuck.
I think the Chiefs are bored with regular season football. I don't think
agree.
it gets them excited.
I agree.
Dude, they're going into Carolina. It's like they're just like, what? It's okay. We got 6 more weeks left. You guys, I know you guys aren't huge NBA fans, but the Golden State Warriors started rattling off titles, and they like broke the regular season wins record. The Bulls did this a couple times in the 90s, where you start stacking titles, and you lose on a Tuesday night to the Wizards because who gives a shit? Like that's what I sense from the Chiefs right now. That not that they're not preparing and watching film and doing their thing, but do they when you've been to the top of the mountain multiple times and you are world famous Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, does a noon game the third week in November, week 12 NFL season against the Panthers really get your gears grinding?
Come on, guys, we gotta fucking go.
I
doesn't.
There's going to be a different thing you see in January.
But what has been one of the reasons that they've always been able to make those title runs? Where's the road to the Super Bowl ran through? Kansas City.
Not every year.
But majority of the year.
Technically, right now they're still in first, so it's still running through Kansas City.
It still is running through Kansas City, and so
I know.
It's so hard because I want to give respect to Mahomes. And
you have to.
You have to. And I'm
you
not.
ran on the fucking sidelines jogging.
I'm not disrespecting Patrick Mahomes.
Okay.
I'm not.
Okay.
I just don't.
But
see
here comes
it
the
from
but.
that offense.
Disrespecting Patrick Mahomes.
Don't see it from that offense.
You're high right now. We've just named off 6 guys that could easily get this done. D-Hop, Kelsey, Noah Gray's been showing up as of lately. Isaiah Pacheco's coming back. Worthy's here. Hardman's there. Dude, there's playmakers there. It's not just enough. Everyone's mad because they don't have Tyreek and they're not throwing the ball 400 yards. They're like, make it come to life. And you're like, they just don't have that roster.
If the Bills beat you and then you go out and almost lay an egg against the Panthers, you're not hitting stride into December. You're not. We just talked about it on the first show, and you agreed with me. You're like, oh, yeah, teams that are going like this are the ones that we want in December. And here I am making the exact argument of the Chiefs are not. They're plateauing, to use your words. They're plateauing. How are you willing to sit here and tell me that they're still the best team in the NFL right now in Week 11?
Because 15 is their quarterback.
Oh, my God.
Mackey, am I wrong? Am I wrong?
It's a different subset of rules with this team.
Thank you.
They're going to wind up. I think they might lose, so they're going to beat the Raiders next week. They might lose. They're going to
destroy the
Chargers.
Raiders.
They might lose a couple games.
Aiden O'Connell, old Gardner Minshew, snapped the collarbone.
Dude, that's bad when you break a collarbone.
That's going to hurt.
That's going to hurt
That's a
real
painful
bad.
injury.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, what are their only tests? So what? They've still got
Chargers.
the Chargers left. And
at Cleveland, Houston, at Pittsburgh, at Denver. They actually have a
Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh will be another one.
Pittsburgh will be one. Denver will be one. I mean, Denver took them to the deep end already once, too. Like, yes, that team finds a ways to win, but there are cracks in the armor. There's cracks in the armor of the Kansas City Chiefs.
Okay, my next dumb football question, then we'll turn to the audience here in the YouTube comment section is, you got Thanksgiving coming up on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel Cooper Rush versus freaking Tommy DeVito. Can't wait.
Let's go.
Or as you mentioned in part 1, maybe it's Daniel Jones in a Cowboys uniform against.
Do it. Do it, Jerry.
Do it.
3 Thanksgiving foods and only 3. You have to pick 3 and you don't get any other foods. What are your do or die foods on Thanksgiving for you guys?
Stuffing for sure.
Yep.
Love fucking stuffing.
Big stuffing guy.
I'm going to go with mac and cheese.
Ooh.
Thank you.
My wife makes a mean homemade mac and cheese. And
Mac and
it
cheese is great.
I feel like 5 or 10 years ago, it was not like society did not accept mac and cheese as a normal Thanksgiving side dish, but now it's very widely accepted.
Dude,
which is
Baker's
good.
Square mac and cheese used to be amazing.
Well, I think it's because everyone thought of mac and cheese as like, oh, you get the Kraft box and you pour it in, and then you got the powder on it. Dude, when my wife opened my eyes to like actual real mac and cheese, and she was like, no, we grade and we shred the cheese, and it's different cheeses, and we melt them in, and then we put the butter, and then I'm just like, oh, this is life-changing, right? Life-changing.
Yeah.
So mac and cheese is
Talk dirty.
yeah,
That's
mac
right.
and cheese is high on the list for me. And then an underrated dish, and I really only like it
Say it.
at Thanksgiving,
Say it.
green bean casserole.
Oh.
I don't like it any other time of the year. It's not something where I look at the wife and I'm like, hey, it's a nice July day. How about some
You
green
know it.
bean casserole?
You know, I'm really
Right?
craving
Like,
right now.
Right?
I love green bean casserole because I feel like it just puts the nice, like, crisp, but it's still a vegetable smothered in other crap. But I love a good green bean casserole.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'll even just eat green beans with some sea salt and some pepper. I'm a green beans guy.
Green beans are great, but I don't know about green bean casserole.
Love it.
Casseroles are risky, man, because like you start putting the cream of mushroom, different things.
Hey,
You gotta...
Jay, was it your wife that brought over that muffin that had like the apple in it? That thing was fucking whatever that was. You can bring those back up this year. That'd
Like
be
the apple muffin dessert.
cranberry.
that
It was
situation.
fucking- It was amazing. I just kept eating them.
So when we played in Dallas, when we played in Detroit on Thanksgiving in 2016, we all came back to Boonies afterwards, and all the wives had made a giant spread, and we all limped our way in there because it was the back end of a 3 games in 11 days stretch, and we just feasted. And the ladies made such good food. I love. Dude, Thanksgiving is such an underrated holiday.
It really
Everyone's
is.
like ready to put up Christmas shit and like, oh, put on the Christmas. Like, fuck no, Thanksgiving deserves its time.
Well, the smart families put that stuff up on November 1st and include all of it for 2 months, like the Mackeys. That's right.
No,
Holiday
I have
season.
a
You put it
hard
up 'cause it's too
hard,
cold?
dude. Hard rule: no Christmas in my house till after Thanksgiving. Hard rule.
So
I'm not
is
doing it.
Black Friday the day that the boxes come out?
Oh,
for you?
Black
yeah.
Friday, we're watching, right? We're eating leftovers, pull it out. We'll get our tree this weekend, do our thing, and then you get 1 month of Christmas. December 26th, that shit comes down.
Down.
Agreed on the December 26th.
Down.
Down.
By the
December
way,
26th, down.
Black Friday has jumped the shark. It's like November 15th.
It's a whole week long
last
now.
week,
It's a
and
fucking
like
week long.
Early Black
Come
Friday
for Gray
specials.
Monday. Come for White Sunday. You're like,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, how many fucking days is this deal?
Cyber Monday.
Good golly, Small Business Thursday.
Yeah.
Amazon every day, as my wife said.
Prime. Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm glad that mac and cheese has kind of graduated from
love mac and cheese.
I mean, for dessert, what are we thinking? Are we thinking pumpkin pie or apple pie? What are we doing?
Pumpkin.
Pumpkin.
Always pumpkin.
pumpkin for sure. Yeah, I'm a pecan
I love
pie
pecan
fan
pie.
too.
I can do it all.
Dude, so we did a Globals Friendsgiving. So something that we do for our church is in our city group. We did a Global Friendsgiving where we had a bunch of Afghanistan and Pakistan refugees. We invited them to the church and did like a Thanksgiving. Fascinating to see them look at some of our food and be like,
What is that?
I'm not eating that.
What do they
Right?
think of
Like,
stuffing?
like they don't like everything. They don't know if it's like halal or kosher. And like we had interpreters, and so they'd be like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "Cheesy potatoes." Like, I don't.
How do I tell?
How do I like? It's not. There's no pork, right? Like it was just such a. But it was really fun. It was a really cool thing to do.
Butter,
But it's just
cheese, potatoes.
last thing on this, we started explaining like what Thanksgiving is, right? And so like Thanksgiving started in 1612, right? Like it was the Pilgrims. And then one of the this is bad. One of the refugees asked like, "So what happened to the Indians?"
Yeah, well, that's about
I
that.
was like,
We don't talk about that.
let's not get too deep into this right now, boys. One of my friends was like, white man came. White man could not eat. White man helped Indian come grow food. White man killed Indian, moved on with life. I was like, let's not dive deep into what Thanksgiving actually.
Yeah, it was not the
We're just thankful. We're very
best part- yeah,
thankful.
we're
We're
just
thankful
thankful
for
for
everything that
everything.
came
Yes.
along. It was so funny. Everyone's sitting there like, how do we get out of this?
It's a great question.
bad.
That's a great question. Yeah. Oh man. All right, let's dive into the comment section here. You guys sent a bunch of good, I think, dumb football questions last week, so we'll get to a few of these. Let's start with Anthony Ladens. Do you guys remember the best block you ever had in a football game?
Yes.
Yeah,
I do.
Mine was in college. I remember it from college. We were playing Wisconsin in 2012, and we ran a draw. I was playing left tackle. I set the defensive end. He tried to come back inside, And what's great on draws is when you turn into a run block, and they think it's a pass protection, you catch them on their heels. Grabbed him, drove him, pancaked him into the linebacker's lap, and went 2 for 1. And then Taylor Martinez went off for a touchdown. Never forget that. Never forget that moment of standing up as I just dumped this guy, and you stand up and watch your quarterback run into the end zone. Still one of my favorite
Just
blocks to this
stacking
day.
bodies.
Stacking
bodies.
So great. I wish I could find it still. I don't know where
Mine
it is.
was in 2011. We were playing Green Bay in Green Bay. We ran 96 zone, and we had a slip on, and we had to call a Zorro because we knew the pressure was coming from the outside. And we had always talked about, like, Jay, we talk about this sometimes in the gym where you're going to hand off color to another guy and you're like creating a wall. We ended up handing off 3 guys. So I took the end, handed him off to the center, ended up taking AJ Hawk, and then I worked off to like Woodson or something. And I remember thinking that was the cleanest fucking block. And when we watched it on tape, I remember G-Ro was like, man, that is one of the coolest fucking things, because you just saw a wall of guys like just collapse everything. And Frank just took it for like 15 yards. It was incredible. That, and then when I played you guys here in the Metrodome, Frank busted a run, and I was downfield blocking the safety, and he tripped, and I caught him and kind of like picked him up and threw him and fell over, and he got another like 10 yards. He came over to me and was like, that was one of the coolest things, because as he was going down, like I fell and picked him up and like took him over me, and everybody was like, "That's, dude." When you do shit like that, there's a moment of like empowerment where you're like, "That was fucking awesome." I don't care what anyone says. I can give up 3 sacks today. When they watch this play, they're gonna be like, "That was fucking cool."
Yeah, and then my second one we were playing Carolina in 2016, and same thing like Booney said. We had a safety. We were running outside zone to the right, and we had a safety that walked down deep, so we had to new mic it, and so we mic'd it back. And the same thing, I hit the 3 technique, boom, turn the shoulder, pass it, and it was Coleman from the Panthers sitting right there. And
Kurt Coleman.
Just smoked him, right? Just crumpled him, right? It's one of those things like when you
I remember watching that the next day.
It just crumples the guy, and you just keep running, and you just turn around as he's peeling himself off the turf.
It's like a stampede of wild
Dude, just
elephants
feels
or
so
something.
when you
It's
crumple
so
another
fun.
man, like when you crumple them, it feels so good.
So
like there's no better feeling when you just smoke a guy and it's same foot, same shoulder, all your power, and you just see the buckle of the knees. Oh,
in that moment
I
with
miss
no
that.
regard for his family,
Zero
no
regard.
for his
Zero.
children,
Zero regard whatsoever.
No,
like
you
if he
feel
doesn't get
so
up, not
good.
my fault. Shouldn't have been standing there.
Yeah, sorry, you'll figure it out, family.
Get my blood boiling a little bit.
Oh, I get excited. I'm starting to think about a couple other ones. It's like,
Right?
shit. I remember. Dude, true
It's
story.
so funny though. My wife will be like, you can remember like that exact moment, but like you can't remember shit I said to you like 30 minutes ago. But, like there's certain moments ingrained in like my career, like how I can spit play calls back out. Like I don't know. There's just somewhere in this brain is a compartment that's just locked for football that forgets nothing.
No, it's our life. It's been our life for 30 some years. So when they're like, hey, 2-jet, you're like instantly in your mind, it goes to programming 2-jet, pulling plays out from 2-jet. You're like, dude, I know all this shit. It is so fun though when you get credit, and it's very rare to get credit from the O-line, but like in the room, like the O-line room, when you do a really good job, people are quick to be like, man, that's fucking awesome. Like that's great, because there's nothing better than watching guys around you kick ass, because then you feel protected. You're like, hey, this guy's feeling himself. I don't have to worry too much about my outside. He's gonna fuck everybody up. Like it's really fun. And coaches sometimes, they're just like us when we break down film. They'll be like, y'all want to see a dead body? And they'll like pull up to a certain play and they'll be like, watch so and so fucked up. And it's so fun, dude. It's just so much fun.
I know you guys are dying to hear about my greatest takes
what do you
of all
got?
time on the radio and podcast, but I'll spare you for another episode. Let's see here. Skolger77 chimes in and says, what is it like walking into a stadium knowing you aren't playing because of an injury?
Depends on the situation, I guess. Like, the only time I wasn't allowed to play was at the end of the year. It was like the last game a couple of years. And then there was one where I had a concussion where I wasn't even allowed into the facility. So it was like, this is weird. I just felt like a weird part of the team for a while. But for the most part, I think depending on where you are in the season and what the injury is, some guys can take it differently. Like some guys can just be like, what's up, fuckers? And you're like, he's cruising. He don't give a fuck. He's done for the year. He don't give a fuck. There's some guys that like, they like, you see them working super hard and they're like, I got to do whatever I can to get back. And you're like, calm down. It's okay. Like, we say this a lot, and I still say this to my guys. When you're injured, you feel like everyone's looking at you, and you feel like everyone's like, what a bitch. What a fucking bitch. And it was really the reason that kept me from ever complaining about anything, which is half the reason I'm so destroyed, is because I didn't want everyone to turn around and be like, what a fraud. You're a pussy. And you feel like that. Like, you'll be practicing, and they'll pull you out for a couple plays to be like, hey, I know your finger's broken. I need, you take a couple. You feel in that moment like everyone's like, you're a fucking fraud. So you're always trying to play. But then there's some guys that are like, finger, dude. Finger. I'll never forget, and I'm not going to name names. Went to a knee, gave me one of these, and I was like, well, he's done forever. Some guys just don't give a shit. Like, they're like, hey, man, I'm hurt. It is what it is. I remember Justin Smith. Justin Smith tore his tricep off the bone. He was still playing. But the deal was he didn't practice during the week because he didn't want to fuck it up. So he was constantly trying to recover it during the week. And somebody had come over to him and made a comment about, like, something about a guy working during the week makes him feel good about earning a paycheck. And I remember we were all standing there, and he's standing like this, and he was fucking yoked. And he was like, why don't you go fuck yourself? And I was like, oh, he don't care. He don't give a fuck. He would stand out there with a cup of coffee like, you guys look like shit. Yeah. Like, dude, you going to practice today? He'd be like, nah. Fuck this shit. I'll see you Sunday. But dude, he'd come in on Sunday and he would fucking wreak havoc. There's some guys that just can do that. I think, like I said, it depends on the injury, where you are. I know that when I was always injured or when I was getting pulled out early, I fucking hated it. I hated everyone looking at you like, why can't you go? What's wrong with you? Some guys don't care. Some guys are like, I'm done for the year. Call it quits. Ship my shit out.
The hardest part, game day, if you got to game day and you were still hurt or injured and you were like, man, maybe I'm not giving my team the best chance to win, and I might actually be hurting my team if I go out there. Like, there's a certain point to that. It was like Booney said, it was always during the week where you're watching your guys practice and grind, and it sucks, and you're on the sideline riding the bike, or you're in a brace and you can't do anything, and the guys walk by you and you're like, oh, having a good day, and you're like, fuck, man, I'm trying, right? Like, it's not as much like
always a poke.
They get done with the 9-on-7, right, and they're grinding over there, and you're standing on the sideline holding the script. They're like, oh, how many more periods we got, asshole? And you're like, oh, man, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to get better, right? Like, we all did it to each other. Like, it was just relentless. Even if the guy's like partially torn MCL, and like, oh, it's my back, my back, your back hurt from standing, right? Like, you would just poke each other nonstop, and so you always felt like a bitch during the week, for sure. Right? But it always kind of came back around when you come back on the field and you'd see your other buddy be like, oh, now it's my turn. Right? You'd run by and be like, oh, does your finger hurt? Right? Like, it was constant razzing like that all the time.
I know. And everyone always gets sensitive about it.
Oh, it's super sensitive, dude. But you feel terrible, like, because you want to play and you want to be out there, and you're hurt or you're dinged or whatever it is, and you're just like, whatever. I remember Booney, when he got dinged against Carolina, I thought I was going to end up starting the next game at left guard. I practiced all Wednesday. I practiced all Thursday. And then miraculously Friday, he comes around. He's like, feeling really good. I was like, you're such a dick.
Dang.
I was like,
Power of the needle.
Power
of the needle.
I was like, I was supposed to start this week. And then I had to play the rest of the game at right tackle because Andre went down. But freaking crazy.
Dude, that was a wild.
That whole year was nuts.
I know.
2016, everyone was just trying to feel like, I tore my meniscus against the Eagles, and I was like, oh, I'm just going to play the rest of the year. At the end of the year, they're like, dude, it looks like a hand grenade went off in your knee. I was like, it happens. Oh. But like, that whole year was just bananas.
It was bad.
I feel like, too, like, fans and media don't always know the extent. Teams will put guys on the injury report or not sometimes, and you don't really know like what certain dudes
questionable
are going through.
Can mean so many things.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, questionable's like, hey, this dude can't walk, but maybe by Saturday he'll be okay. Right?
Yeah.
Like, there's so many things.
They don't know at this point.
Yeah, it's so funny.
Speaking of that, go ahead.
I got another question.
Let's
so
go
if you
for
have
it.
No, I was just going to say that was hilarious about how that Allen from the 49ers was like, yeah, I broke my finger last week, and all of a sudden fucking Shanny's like, you broke it like 3 fucking weeks ago. Shut up. You know what that means. Big fine.
Big fine.
Not telling them what's going on. By the way, the injury report, you guys really shouldn't look that deep into it, because there's been times I've seen my name and I'm like, I don't have that injury.
Like, well, you came and asked for ice, so we put it on the injury report. I was like,
fuck
okay,
I see
I'll just get my own ice now, I guess.
Alex
Thank
Boone,
you.
wrist. I'm like, wrist? What the I can't get my shit taped anymore? My God, we're all just snitches around here.
Brandon Kuselek says, being in the offense, or even the defense for that matter, must be so hectic when the bullets are flying. Remembering what the play is, your specific assignment, any checks at the line, defensive shifts at the last second, clock management, penalties. Does it ever get hard to remember what down it is? And how often do you forget key information once you're up at the line?
That's a great point. And there's always a guy that's telling you the down and distance in the huddle.
It's the tackle closest to the sticks.
Always telling you, hey,
Okay.
2nd and 2, 3rd and 8, whatever it is. And then there's always a guy that's saying, hey, nickel base is in, or dimes in, or whatever's in. Like, there's so much information that it's kind of divvied up between a lot of people to realize, like, what's going on out here, or find the safeties, or, you know, all this stuff. When you get to the line, everybody has an important piece to the play call. The most important thing is that we know the play. I don't give a fuck what the routes are. Like, if I forget the routes, it's not that big of a deal. If I forget something that the tight end's motioning, it's not a big deal. But as long as I know that it's 2-jet, or I know that it's act 2, or that I know that it's, you know, ace hot, whatever it is, you're like, okay, I'm good. There are times where the outside, I feel like, loses concepts, and a lot of it is because they have so much to remember. There's so many different plays, there's so many different routes, there's so many different route concepts that they're the ones that kind of forget. And you'll hear them talking at times, and that used to make me die laughing. Like, you'd see a guy go in motion, and I'm not going to name names, but this guy would go in motion. He'd be like, hey, run the over route. And you'd be like, fucker, why would you tell them? Or he'd come by and be like, hey, you have the post. I'd be like, shut the fuck up. You're telling them it's a like, they have a lot to learn. But for the most part, the second part of this is you're not allowed on that field until you are 200% dialed in. Unless we have nobody to throw out there, you have been quizzed, checked, the book has been thrown at you. People like Jay and I have been asking you questions all week, asking if you're good. Like, there's never a moment, I can never really remember a moment that I was out there like, oh shit, what's the play? Like, there may be a time where all of a sudden we get a throw, everyone's going crazy. Did his feet get in? I don't know. All of a sudden, Peter, and everyone's like, shit, what's Peter again? Oh, it's power, go. Or like, charger, bolt. Like, you'd be running to the line like, hey, is this zone or is this power? And they'd be like, it's power, run power to the right. You'd be like, okay, cool, got it. But there was never a moment that you would get up to the line and be like, look at the center and be like, hey, is this 2-jet or is this 3-jet? Like, if that happened, it would be like, burp, timeout, the fuck off the field. What do you mean you don't know if it's 2-jet or 3-jet? Didn't the point just tell you? Didn't I just tell you Rocco? That's another thing. Like, when you go into the league, you feel like you have to know everything. I got to know everything. I got to know all this. I got to know this formation. I got to know this motion. I got to know this fucking route. I got to know all this shit. I got to know because they're going to ask me. And then you get in the game, and I could just hear Rocco, and I go, we must be in some pass pro, and we're sliding to the right, and I know he's coming with me, and I got his inside. Like, it's really dumbed down when you get out there. And yeah, it's loud and it's chaotic. And that's why sometimes we'll come up with our own hand signals and we'll be tweeting each other shit. And it's like, you can't hear me, I can't hear you. But there's so much dialogue during the week that if you don't know what you're doing out there, you're a fucking idiot. Like, you're fucking stupid. You don't belong out here with us. There's so much memorization, watching plays, looking for tendencies. Like, and I think this is a bigger thing to talk about, but like, the whole day in the life of the NFL is not fucking fun. It's not cush. It's not like, oh, like gummy bears and fucking around. It's 6 hours straight film, not moving. 6 hours. And if you're going to twitch and move, people are going to be like, get the fuck out. Like, we all have to sit here and watch this film and find something every single play. You have to find something, every play that's new to you, and write it down. Because if you're not, we're just going to aimlessly stand here and go, did everybody get that? Nobody wrote it? Like, there's so much going on during the day that by the time you get to the game, like, as a good offensive lineman, you could have scripted the whole plan. You could have been like, I know what they're going to do in third down. I know they're going to be in man coverage. I know they're going to try and blitz through the A gaps. Like, you know every fucking thing about this team. If you don't know what you're doing, you're just a waste out there.
Yeah, I mean, I echo everything that Alex said. And as I got older into my career, I became starved for more information.
Yes.
Right. Like, when you're a young player, you're really kind of just trying to survive. right? As a rookie or a practice squad guy in your first year, you're like, okay, this is so much happening. It's information through a fire hose. But when you start getting into year 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever it might be, you almost become obsessed. The good ones, right? Or the true pros. You become obsessed with, I need more information. Right, I never would. If you would have told senior in college Jeremiah, like, hey, you're going to understand route concepts, and you're going to understand coverage, and you're going to know when it's man versus zone, or you're going to know the difference between overload front, and like all this stuff. You'd be like, I just show up and block the end, right? Like it is what it is. But towards the end of my career, I could not, in good conscience, go into a game without feeling like I knew what everyone's job was on just about everyone's play.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and like Boone said, there were some routes where I'm like, okay, they're going to check, or they have, they have side adjusts here, or they have a thing that
that's
like,
their
that doesn't
that's
matter
their
to me.
Shit. Yeah.
But I used to, hey, I'm going to sit in on the third down meeting with the quarterbacks, and I'm going to listen to what are they looking for from a schematic standpoint of where they want to get the protection. Why do they want to get the back out in this look, or why do they want to get to empty in that look, or hey, short yardage goal line. What is the why behind we're running this, right? Everyone knows, hey, short yardage, we're going to run it, but like, why are we attacking this certain part?
This gap. Why is this gap?
Why is
getting,
this gap
right.
important? Or even, hey, on field goal, why are they rushing this guy? Right? What are they trying to get to? Is it Calais Campbell? Oh, he's a C-gap swim guy. Has been his whole life. I got to be locked into that. Right? There's just so many nuances that go into the game plan piece that when you get out there, and it's like anything, you go into anything unprepared, you're going to be rattled.
Yeah.
Right? Anything in life, right? It could be, hey, your scripture reading at church this morning. I didn't read it. Oh, shoot, I'm going to kind of fumble my way through this. Right? But when you go into a game and you're like, dude, I have watched the tape. I have put the work in. I put the practice reps on. I know at any given call when we check to anything, I know every third down. I know every short yardage. I know what our first down runs are. I know what our goal line runs are. Our high red, we're going to run this initially. Right? It's so easy. And then you have to worry about the really hard part, blocking the freak show.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because all that stuff is hard in itself. But when you that's all controllable. All of that preparation is controllable. You can prepare as hard as you want during the week and feel as mentally prepped as you are. It's the physical part that's the freaking hard part, right? That's Aaron Donald. That's Fletcher Cox. You got to block those dudes. If you're all worried about what you're doing and you're not worried about blocking that guy in the moment, you're fucked. Like, you're done. You're toast, because now you're like, oh wait, is it 2-jet? Is it 3-jet? And oh my gosh, okay, shoot, he did the spin move I wasn't ready for. Like, all that stuff plays into it.
And when you do prep that much, it makes the game slow. Because when you get up there,
slower.
like when Jay said, like when you get into a third down meeting and you're sitting with the OC and the quarterbacks coach and the O-line coach and the quarterbacks and the running backs, and he's like Jay said, hey, with third down, third and long, we get into this. I want to slide it this way because I know they're in man coverage and we're going to have the back release this way and it's going to create a natural pick. Instantly you get up there and you're like, hey, it's third down, there's 8 up, hey, we're going this way. He doesn't even have to say it anymore. So instantly he's on to the next thing. And it's like the more you can take off that guy's plate.
Well,
and it's
we were playing the Ravens, I think, maybe 2017. It was 2017 because we had Case. And there was a look all week long we had saw on tape. We're like, hey, when they get to this front and they like to run this blitz with Eric Weddle when he comes down low here, we're going to check to this, and this is going to be wide open. Right? And we prepped it and we repped it during the week. And I remember it was like second quarter, big third down. We walk up there, and I shit you not, like 6 of us were all like, this is it. This is it. Like, we took a Case was like, I know. And then he gets up there and he checks it, and we pick it up. We hit it right in the face, and he delivers a dime, and we convert it. And all the old linemen are high-fiving down the field, like, oh, we fucking did it. But like, that stuff is so much fun when you can win the chess match. Like, when you can win the chess match with that kind of stuff, so much fun.
I feel like part of the shame of football, or part of the what if of football, is it oftentimes sounds like it's so complicated when you're 21, 22. But like after 4 or 5 years or 6 years, now you've got the mental side right around the time that your body starts to get over the age cliff.
Correct. It's like
that's
the
where
loop,
like quarterbacks, once quarterbacks hit that sweet spot of, I've been in the league for 7 years, 8 years, 10 years, and my body is going to hold up until I'm 35 or 36, and you get that sweet spot for like offensive linemen and other positions. You don't get that. You're not playing when you're 35, 36 years old. You don't get that luxury.
No, and honestly, that's kind of one of the hardest things about it. But as an older player, you know that with young guys, so you're not expecting them to. I don't need you to regurgitate everything. It's just when we're out here, I need you to know what's going on. Like, I think that's the one main point is when you're young, as long as you know the play and what you need to do and what maybe the guys around you need to do, you're good. When you get older, you're quick to be like, hey, why are we checking this? Or, hey, versus this front, why aren't we running this? Or what's up with this whole installation? Why are we doing this NASCAR? Like, instantly, and I remember like it's easier when your coaches have an open door, right? Like in Frisco, we always had an open door. You could walk in, I could sit down and talk to Giro all the time. So it's fun to go in and be like, let me pick your brain. He'd be like, I got a new play. No one's going to believe we're going to run it. You'd be like, tell me more. And he'd be like, we're not going to block the 3 technique and we're going to run a trap. And you'd be like, that doesn't sound smart. He'd be like, let me explain. And he'd go through the whole, like, when they're in a cover 2, this is their main priority. And this guy's a fucking bull in a china shop. I've been watching his tape. He's not paying attention. Play goes for like 30 yards. And instantly I feel like I'm fucking 10 years smarter because I'm listening to these guys talk about how they're so open. And at one point, I feel like the NFL was really closed, right? Everybody ran the same shit. Everybody ran power, counter, fucking bullshit, play action, act 2, act 3, all that stuff. But now you have these coaches that just throw shit at the wall. Like you have Ben Johnson in Detroit, who's just drawing up new shit. You have Mike McDaniels in Miami, who's just drawing up new shit every day. And it's like, listen, if you're a player and you don't take advantage of going into that room and being like, why do we do this the way we do? Or why don't we do this? Or tell me about why we're killing this. Like that's the one thing, once you get it all down and you're like, physically I can do this, I'd like to get more mentally smarter. Like one of the people that I talk about to a lot of people surprisingly is John Sullivan. Blew me away with how smart he was. Like, and I played some fucking smart dudes. I mean smart. John Sullivan was by far the smartest. More smart than any quarterback I ever knew. Anybody. OC,
He knew everything.
head coach. I mean, fucking, I would put him almost up against Harbaugh and Giro. Like, I'd be like, this dude knows, because when I got there, he'd be like, I'm going to take care of everything. And I remember at first it kind of drove me nuts because he'd make like stupid calls to piss me off. And even Fraley'd be like, I don't know why the fuck he's calling it that. He's probably just fucking with you. And I went to him and was like, enough, okay? Fuck. He's like, well, you know, when he's got the hook and he's got the curl. I'd be like, shut up. Stop calling it stupid shit and call it the real name. But, I mean, you talk about these guys. That's when you get to have the most fun out there. That's when you can have conversations with the D-line, or you can talk to the head coaches of the other team, or you can talk to the official because you're not panicked about what's the next fucking play. You're like, I know this offense inside and out. I know what the fuck you guys are going to do. It's just on us to either block you and pull it off, or this is going to go down in flames. But that's when you're like, see so much more. And you're like, God, there's worlds in here I didn't even know fucking existed. Nickel? What the fuck is Nick? Dime? Penny? Are you fucking kidding me? Do we got no D linemen out there? What are we doing? Blew my fucking mind.
Dude, that was an amazing answer. That was like a 12-minute masterclass of.
I would love
I know
one
we
day.
just scratched the
psychology,
surface.
man.
I would
We
love to
just
go in
scratched
one
the
day and
surface.
tell you about a whole week, like a whole episode dedicated to what it really is. Because there's so many, and even like my 12-year-olds, they'll be like, "Oh, it's probably just a fucking breeze," and you're like, "Dude, it is the hardest thing you have to do every day because every day there's 10 people watching you do that one-on-one rep." There's 10 people watching you from the back of the room. Jay, remember when people in Minnesota would sit in the back of the room? And at one point I turned around and I go, who the fuck are you? And he was like, I'm just here observing.
Yeah, I'm the Midwest area scout. I'm trying to see what we're looking for in the O-line room. I was like, oh, you're looking for my replacement. Got it.
Yeah, we were all like, get the fuck out of here. What are you doing? This is our sanctuary, and you're in here trying to find our replacement? Fuck out of my face. Like, every day you feel like there's people.
Eating
And
your
then,
snacks. Yeah.
dude, and the hardest part is, like, you'll go to lunch with them, and they'll be super cool. Right? Like, they're like, oh, hey, bud, great game, blah, blah, blah. I played great. And then you got to practice, and they're like a different person. Like, they're just like, they put their scouting hat back on and they're just fucking glaring at you like, why do we even have you on this team? God, you're worthless.
Judging.
God, you're a terror. Did you make weight this week?
That's a fine.
Fat ass.
It's $500 right there.
Dude, I had a GM one time
man.
tell one of our players he had to cut his hair. And our player came to me and was like, hey, is this Pop Warner? I go, no, why? What's up? He's like, GM told me I had to cut my fucking hair. I was like, listen,
I'd probably cut your hair.
I'd probably cut it. You're not a starter.
Or they're going to cut your.
He just always razzed him about his hair because, yeah, it was very, like, all over. And he was like, you should get that cut. And eventually he said it enough in front of us that we were like, you should probably get that cut. Like, I'm just going to be honest. It's
Becoming a thing.
Yeah. He keeps talking about your fucking hair. You are not even playing. Cut it.
Don't cut me.
If he's talking to you and you're not playing, that's not good. They don't talk to us.
Keep the dumb football questions coming in the O-line committee YouTube comment section. Good stuff. And yeah, we should we can do some more like masterclass stuff maybe in the off season, just some bigger picture theme. Now that we have a much more organized way of grabbing film too, so we can there's tons of topics for the off season. But Alex Boone, Jeremiah Sirles, this is the O-line committee. See you guys.